maybe, gentlemen, we've been preparing this panel. I know what your companies are doing, but I was talking about innovative solution providers. Maybe a little pitch. What are you doing? What are you building? What are you bringing to the shipping industry who is in need of a disruptive solution? Let's start with you, Stephan. What is SkySails Group?
Thank you, Arnaud. SkySails is doing kites.
But huge kites.
Huge kites.
Big ones.
We have a picture there. We started with kites towing ships. We started in 2001. And the development and sold the first system out delivered in 2006. So these kind of kites save about up to 10 tons fuel per day for a cargo ship. And so that is our main business or basic business. In the meantime, 10 years ago, we started also a software business that ship owners use the weather conditions to save fuel, speeding up in good weather, slowing down in bad weather, having control about the growth at the hull. And in the last 5 years, then we started also to produce electrical power, what can be seen here. That's a power generation unit where we generate electrical power, 200 kilowatt with this unit.
And let's get to Georgios. ShipReality is also working on the shipping industry fuel efficiency in various fields for you as well. Can you describe it to us?
Yes, hello from me again. What we are doing is we are developing some breakthrough technologies utilizing virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality to speed up and improve the ship modification process and enable the green energy transition in shipping. In particular, we have a design software that is completely unique. We think it's a breakthrough, where we convert two-dimensional drawings directly into the three-dimensional space. We're using optimal pipe routing algorithms to connect any point within the three-dimensional space. And the result for that is that these are designs that can happen on new builds and also retrofits, which are 10 times faster than existing methods and produce optimized designs. And that saves a lot of time from the design process and also a lot of time that the ships don't have to be out of operation. On top of that, in virtual reality, we have created a platform where you can visualize the geometry of the ship together with the CAD modification design, and that enables you to review designs and also train the crews. And on the third level, using augmented and mixed reality, what we're trying to do is improve the operational efficiency of the ships. And we have a special intelligence where we link the data that the ships are producing in the actual location where they're coming from, so on the machinery and the spaces. And that enables all kinds of remote inspections, remote surveys, remote expert assistance, and workflow automation.
So as I told before, you're front runners, you're innovative solutions providers. Maybe before getting back to your business and to your solutions, maybe let's get to the big picture, to the maritime transport sector, to the shipping industry in a whole. What is your analysis of if I may put it this way, the current affairs of the maritime transport when it comes to its readiness for transformation, its readiness for positive, impact-oriented transformation? This sector has a reputation of being very classical, with many friction forces, with a huge complexity, with a high pressure on the cost. Is it ready to transform? What is your analysis, Georgios?
There are three very unique forces, transformational forces in the shipping industry. The first one has to do with environmental regulations. There is a series of them that have to do with sulfur emissions, water ballast. Just the water ballast regulation affects 60,000.
With every new law, a higher pressure on being more efficient, in fact.
And also reduce all the environmental impact. Then on the top of that comes in all the effort to reduce the greenhouse emissions and also decarbonization. This is for an industry that's been using the same fuel for the last 70 years. And to do that, not only you have to retrofit the existing fleet, you have also to create new fuels, new propulsion technology. You have to improve the operational efficiency. You have to do all these things together to be able to do that. And the third transformational force is the digitalization of the industry. The problem that exists is that all these three are coming together at the same time. And the first two cost a lot of money, and you need the third one, the digitalization, to be able to save time and money. And that, in the shipping industry, is about 10 years behind from the land-based industries. So the situation that we have now is the different players in the shipping market, for instance, the ship owners, are not building any new ships. They don't know what technology they should use for the next 30 years. They don't know if that technology, they'll have to retrofit the ships again in 10 years. And at the same time, the costs are so much that they always refuse, they're willing to wait to let somebody take the first step. Just to conclude on this, at the same time, the designing firms are still using traditional tools, so they are very there's a backlog, and they need, to adapt to new technologies to be able to do that.
Stephan, do you agree? Do you think that the shipping industry, which has a reputation, and not only a reputation of being pretty risk-averse, is now more eager to evolve?
Yes, I would support this. I think we have a lot of more pressure now since in the last 20 years. If the older of you remember that we have desulfurized fuel in our cars since 2000. And now, since this month, the shipping is desulfurized. So it took 20 years to move shipping into reduce emissions, sulfur emissions in this case. It will take another 10 years minimum to reduce carbon emissions. And we are on a good way because when we sent the first ships with a kite over the seas, immediately the big clothes manufacturers came, which you can all buy your clothes from the big manufacturers. They came and wanted to transport their cargo with this kite-driven ship to be carbon neutral or whatever, less carbon consumption. So at the end of the day, we as a consumer can put the pressure on the manufacturers on the logistic people on the shipping industry to move.
So it's going to be a long journey, but the ship is already on its way, to make a long story short. Let's get back to your innovations. How are you managing to have more and more partners, more and more clients, more and more customers to get on board? How are you implementing it? And maybe get into an experimental phase and an operational phase, and widening the range of the impact of your solutions. Stephan, for SkySails.
We have a higher project income since December of last year, because due to the sulfur caps, the fuel price increases since January. Day by day, the fuel prices increase. And so the ship owners see that, and then also start to look for alternatives. The early adapters, in this case, in these times, are cruise vessels, because cruise vessels are selling a carbon neutral journey to their customers. They want to be carbon neutral first. So there we have...
It's a long way for them, because they're not carbon neutral at all for the moment.
But I know that there are plans, for instance, to use hydrogen on these vessels. There are the first ships out with LNG, and they are looking also for wind propulsion in any case.
You were showing us a slide with the very first ship on which your kite has been implemented. At what stage of experimentation are you?
So we have in total 6 ships installed.
6 ships?
6 ships. So the product is ready, and we're waiting now since 2012 when we delivered the last system for new orders. And they are now coming up. So we see a light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel.
And you, Georgios, how is the ecosystem responding to ShipReality's innovation? Who gets on board?
The usual reaction from the ship owners is quite slow. Is they always want the innovations, somebody else to start them first, and then if they succeed, then they come and follow. So we are focusing on the leading ship owners and also the other players in the industry, because these early adapters are the ones that define the industry. The moment somebody with a big value comes and adapts the solution, then the others come and follow. So this is really what we have done, is we have different projects with different leading ship owners, and we are about to close with one of the leading that covers all the spaces in the shipping industry to adapt most of our technology in their fleets.
Both of you were talking about the ship owners. There was also the shipbuilders. One of the singularity of this industry, maybe even one of its idiosyncrasies, is that there are various stakeholders. Depending on the project, the critical decision has to be made by the shipbuilders, and first of all by the ship owners, also the charterers. How do you cope with it? How do you manage to be fine-tuning the implementation of your solutions by using the various levels and the different actors? Stephan?
Yeah, the shipping industry...
Who are the most important ones for you? Charterers, builders, owners?
That's difficult to answer. The charterers are the players, because they get the order to transport. So they have the demand to lower carbon emission from their customers. And they will give the advice to the ship owners that they want to have more advanced and more performant ships in the future. Unfortunately, there is such a big fleet in the market, since there was 10 years ago a massive overproduction of ships. That are no or just very low new ships upcoming. That's a big problem. And the shipping industry in total is very fragmented. So there are, in every transportation, there are minimum 5 stakeholders. And every stakeholder tries to improve his own business. And that doesn't mean that the business in total will be improved. That's a problem. There are many factors. And we see the main pressure now is coming from the charterers, which takes the cargo from the logistic companies.
And what is your opinion about it, Georgios? Who are the more eager to move? Are they the ship owners, the charterers, which obviously have a critical role in this whole industry? Who to try to change first?
Actually, the ones that are doing most of the innovation and the research right now is the equipment manufacturers and the engine manufacturers. And they're waiting for the clients to come in and adapt. In the shipping industry, because these transformational forces, they're going to be so expensive, the economic risk is something that the ship owners are not willing to take. So they're waiting to share the financial risk with the other players. But also...
So you need to draw new investors in the sector?
Or some of these things are financed by the charterers, including, for instance, all these scrubbers that have been installed in some of the ships. They were actually paid by the charterer, and they basically share the risk, because the risk is quite a lot. So you need to share it in this industry, and that's one way of doing it. And the other thing is to be able to implement these changes. You need design firms, you need shipyards, you need equipment manufacturers, you need charterers, and you need the ship owners, because you are modifying ships, gutting whole ships and converting to new energy systems. Except they are very expensive. They also everybody has to be on the loop at the same time. And currently, they are all part of the process, but they're not collaborating as part of the loop. There's no technology to be able to share all this when you design or you implement and everybody to be on board. And of course, the classification societies as well, which we forgot that they have to approve all this.
The shipping industry is also one of the most globalized economic sectors in on the planet. So it's hyper-competitive, it's highly complex. Are there geographical areas, economic areas where maybe the economic actors are more eager to move? Is it stronger in Asia, in Northern Europe? Where are the game changers?
All the transformation that is coming, these forces are all good for the environment, and they are very much supported by, the big organizations, and Europe is at the forefront of it. So because they will require a lot of money to be implemented going forward, the major players right now that they are actually giving the first regulation and push, because locally in Europe we actually have in certain regions more stricter and more interesting regulations of how the ships that will operate in there should perform. So this is the driving force in a sense that is just starting the engine. The engine to move requires.
And it's going to be a long journey.
It is.
Yes, also with the ships have a very long life cycle, so we need to take time to change the fleet, in fact.
It is exactly this problem that makes it a unique industry, because even the decision that you're going to make now, you don't know if it's the right decision 5-10 years. So you have to have all the tools available. Not only you taking a very big economic risk, you have to have the tools available to reconfigure that decision as regulations and technology change. And that is what's making them so hesitant to be able to move. And that's why you need a big force to move that transformation.
Stephan, your point of view, your opinion about it on the various actors, ship owners, charterers, and also maybe the role of Europe as a front runner, as some kind of role model, game changer.
Europe is clearly a front runner. But on the other side, if we look to Asia, to the Singapore area, there are some very innovative companies, shipping companies, because they see the chance to improve their business by being one of the first going to reduction CO2 emissions. So they are looking strongly to Europe. Even the Chinese shipping companies, not the yard, but shipping companies, they are looking to Europe because we have the technology available to reduce carbon emission. And even a SkySails system, for instance, can be retrofitted to older ships. Yeah, that makes sense if the ship is not older than 5 to 6 years. And so we have a lot of requests from the Far East area as well, because there are very big shipping companies. We have also some in Europe, but the European people are a little bit hesitating.
Obviously, it's going to be a long and complicated story. We understood that.
It's very conservative. I see today I'm the only with a tie. Very conservative business.
We're nearing the end of your panels, and before welcoming our next two speakers, maybe one last question, getting back to your business. What could be a game-changing factor for the development of your solutions? Georgios first.
For us, the game changing is the early adapters, the influence of the industry. If you get a big player on board, adapting your technology in this industry, it's forcing all the other players to come and follow. And this is really, the only game changer that can accelerate the process.
Finding some kind of early adopter of your solutions, in fact. Yes. Stephan, as well for you?
Game changer will be the fuel price.
Yeah, obviously.
And second, to have innovative products to fill the gap. And at this, customer is king. So the pressure of all of you ask for carbon neutral transportation.
And the next step, the next critical date on your agenda?
On our agenda, we will deliver this year 5 power generation units, and even one kite propulsion unit.
Well, good for you. And for you, Georgios, next step, next critical step, next big thing?
The next big thing is, although the technology in the shipping sector is lagging the land-based industries, we think we have a technology to be able to connect places in the three-dimensional space that the moment it's adapted in the shipping industry, it's applicable to all the industries as well. So we're thinking of doing it as a standalone product, which is quite interesting to start from the shipping, solving a problem that the shipping industry, because of the confined spaces and the geometry of a ship, is a more complicated problem than the rest of the industries, and have the other industries adapt it, which is going to be a first.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your expertise with us. You may be getting back to your normal life in Chenge now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, George.